The final hours of Victor Tony Jones, Florida's record-breaking execution. We step into the shadowed halls of Florida State Prison, where at exactly 6 p.m., September 30th, 2025, a man met the needle of justice. A man who had been waiting, not for days, not for years, but for 3.5 decades. His name was Victor Tony Jones, convicted of a crime so brutal that even in death, his victim's family describes the memory as alive every single day. This is not just the story of a crime. It is the story of a couple murdered days before Christmas, a family that carried the scars for 35 years, and a state Florida now breaking execution records not seen in half a century. This is the execution of Victor Tony Jones. Please like and subscribe if you're new to the channel. The crime scene, December 19th, 1990, Miami, Florida. The Nestors, a couple in their 60s, were preparing for Christmas. Less than a week before Christmas, their lives ended in the most violent way imaginable. Their store was their sanctuary. Jack built inventions. Dolly served as secretary. But on that day, goodness would invite evil through its doors. They had just hired a man, a new worker named Victor Tony Jones. He wasn't a stranger off the streets. Jack had a reputation. He gave people chances. He hired those down on their luck. But instead of gratitude, Jones carried with him a knife and desperation. Court records describe what happened next as swift, savage, and senseless. Dolly was the first, with a stab wound in the back, collapsing near the bathroom, and leaving her to die when she declined to pay him because he wasn't finished with the job. Jack, rushing in horror, stabbed in the chest, his heart punctured. And yet, Jack wasn't done fighting. Despite his fatal wound, he retreated to his office. He reached for his pistol, a .22 caliber, small, light, but in his hands, it became the last weapon of resistance. Jack pulled the trigger. Once, twice, 3 times. 5 shots fired, 1 bullet striking Jones square in the forehead. By the time police arrived, Jack, 67, and Dolly, 66, were dead. Dolly Nestor was found in the bathroom with a stab wound in the back, and Jack Nestor was found in the main office with a stab wound to the chest. Victor Tony Jones, a new employee of the business, was found slumped over the couch in the main office with a .22 caliber automatic pistol under his arm. Jones was bleeding out, but alive, and in his pockets? He had the couple's wallets, keys, and other belongings in his pockets. According to the evidence, Jones stabbed Dolly Nestor as she was entering the bathroom and stabbed Jack Nestor as he came toward the bathroom from the main office. Jack Nestor retreated to the main office after being stabbed, where he tried to call for help. He then pulled his .22 caliber pistol from his holster and shot at Jones 5 times, hitting him once in the forehead. The money and personal property of the Nestors was found in Jones' pockets. Jones was found by police, who were summoned by a neighbor of the Nestors. When he was asked what happened, Jones replied, "The old man shot me." Jones was taken to the hospital, where he told a nurse that he had to leave because he had killed those people. When asked why, Jones responded, "They owed me money, and I had to kill them." The arrest and confession. The responding officers asked him a simple question: "What happened?" Jones gave a chillingly flat response: "The old man shot me." At the hospital, he was more blunt. He told a nurse, "I killed those people. They owed me money. I had to kill them." Underscore no remorse. Underscore no hesitation. It was a confession that sealed his fate. Who were Jack and Dolly? But to understand the weight of this crime, you need to know the Nestors. Jack and Dolly Nestor, whose legal names were Jacob and Matilda, both came from humble beginnings in Brooklyn, New York, and were high school sweethearts. They raised 2 children in Brooklyn and eventually became grandparents of 4 before they escaped the winter weather and moved south to Florida. By then, the couple had experienced a good deal of success. Jack was a sculptor and an inventor who found purpose in coming up with medical devices. On top of creating art that included a sculpture displayed in Miami's Federal Building, Nestor accumulated at least 24 patents for medical devices over the years. Among them, a device to transplant leg arteries, another to chisel the middle bone of a nose, a special knife used in hair transplants, and a prosthetic aimed at overcoming male impotence. Jack and Dolly weren't nameless victims. They were high school sweethearts from Brooklyn, grandparents, creators. Jack was a sculptor, an inventor with dozens of medical patents. His creations saved lives. Dolly was the glue of the family, the matriarch, the cook, the one whose pasta sauce recipe is still cherished by her granddaughter. They raised children who pursued dreams in Broadway and beyond. Their son, Michael Nestor, would later become a 9/11's hero, guiding people out of the collapsing towers. But Michael didn't live to see justice for his parents. He died in 2020 of brain cancer, believed to be linked to inhaling carcinogens in the dust at Ground Zero. For the Nestors' family, the murders weren't just a crime. They were a wound that never healed. The trial and sentence. Victor Tony Jones was indicted in January 1991. The charges: 2 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of armed robbery. By 1993, a jury returned its verdict: guilty. The recommendation: death. The judge agreed. On March 1, 1993, Jones was sentenced to die. But the wheels of justice turned slow in America. For Jones, execution wouldn't come for more than 3 decades. Appeals and delays. Jones' lawyers tried every angle. They argued he was intellectually disabled. They argued his childhood was filled with abuse at a notorious reform school that has since been shut down. They argued ineffective counsel. But courts rejected every appeal. The Florida Supreme Court said, not disabled, competent, responsible. The U.S. Supreme Court refused to intervene. And with each denial, the date of execution loomed closer. Florida's record year of death. This wasn't just about one man. Jones' death came during a record-breaking year for executions in Florida. 2025 marked Florida's 13th execution in just 9 months. The highest in the nation. Higher than Texas. Higher than anywhere else. The state uses a 3-drug protocol: a sedative, a paralytic, a chemical to stop the heart. Quick, clinical, cold. The family waits. For the Nestor's family, the wait was excruciating. 35 years. Generations passed. Jack's granddaughter said it best: I think of him every day. He's still alive to me. Their daughter, Irene, admitted mixed feelings. It shouldn't have taken this long. I wish my brother was alive to see it. They would be there, inside the witness room, watching the final hours. At exactly 6 p.m. on September 30th, 2025, the execution chamber at Florida State Prison opened its doors to history and to horror. Inside was Victor Tony Jones, a man who had lived under a sentence of death for more than 3 decades. Convicted of murdering an elderly couple in Miami just before Christmas in 1990, Jones' fate was sealed long ago. But appeals, legal battles, and questions about his mental state stretched his punishment across generations. And now, after 35 years of waiting, Florida strapped him to a gurney, inserted 4 lines into his arms, and prepared to erase his name from the prison roster forever. At 6 p.m., Jones was strapped to the gurney. Witnesses filed in. The 4 lines were inserted. The warden gave the signal. The first drug entered his veins. Within minutes, his chest stopped rising. Victor Tony Jones was pronounced dead. Jones, who was pronounced dead at 6:13 p.m. ET, Florida's 13th execution of the year. The Nestor's killer, gone. Outro. But what lingers is not just his death. It's the absence left behind. Two grandparents taken in 1990. A son who became a hero but died before justice came. A family that never forgot. In the end, justice may have been delayed, but for Jack and Dolly Nestor, it was never denied. This was the execution of Victor Tony Jones, and it's a reminder that behind every headline, every statistic, every execution, are victims, families, lives forever changed. Sleep with one eye open, because evil often walks through the door we leave open.